Greetings and welcome to Conflict Radio. And greetings, everybody. Welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is September 17th, 2024, and we've got quite the lineup, quite the show tonight. We're going to have two guests on. Our first one is going to be Boeden Greenley, and then we're going to be joined by David Lanier right after this. And we're going to talk about the dangers of dental implants, and then we're also going to talk about the Redstone Arsenal, Huntsville, Alabama UFO base. So let's give a quick shout out to everybody I see that's hanging out in the room so far. I see David Jones Locker is here. Not Quite Humans here. Blue Chicken is here. How you doing, Blue? And Robert Bell, welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is the day we get two guests on for the first time ever. All right, so Boeden Greenley is from South Dakota. You're from North Dakota. My bad. That's
Yes,
a big
sir.
difference, isn't it? You can't say South Dakota and you're from North Dakota. You guys get all upset about that or what?
Yep. Yeah, can't do
North
that.
Dakota is totally different from South Dakota, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I'm 19 years old, originally from Lisbon, North Dakota, and now attending North Dakota State University, going into my second year there.
All right. And you sent me an email. You had you wrote a book, and it was for your mother. And
Yes, sir.
man, that's honorable, dude. You know, there's I've always tell people there's no better connection than the one between their mother and the son. So, your book is called, let's see, Perseverance, right?
Yes, sir.
Surviving the life-altering dangers of titanium implants. This is about your mother. Can you tell us what happened? What is your book about? Let's get into this a little bit.
Yeah. So, long story, basically. So I'm 19 years old now. It started when I was about 12 years old. So my mom had a basic filling done on her tooth, and a local doctor kind of messed up the procedure. And then she was forced to get a titanium screw put in her mouth. And then from there, we had all kinds of implications. So got the screw in, and then about 3 months later, she started seeing symptoms. Main thing started with weakness, would get sick, and weakness was the main thing. She started getting vibrations all throughout her body, and something was really wrong here. My mom, super active, super healthy person. She was big into running, big lifter. She was a nutritionist, actually, and just loved physical everything. And then this happened and pretty much derailed her. So 3 months went by, and she got her tooth removed.
All right, hang on. So this all started with just a common toothache, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
This was just one tooth that she was replacing with an implant?
Yes.
All the other teeth were fine. So instead of getting a root canal and a crown, so to speak, the dentist talked her into an implant.
Mm-hmm.
And so the implant went in, and that was having issues. They had to redo it. Can you explain that a little bit? What do you mean? What happened with the implant?
Yeah, so the implant went smooth. Everything, the procedure itself was done correctly, but then she started getting really bad symptoms from it. And they were trying to tell her, no way, this can't be. There's no way that this could be a problem. And it was the only variable within this period of time that had changed. Other than that, she'd done everything the same that she'd done, and she just got super sick from it.
I mean, not just super sick; it almost killed her, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So explain to us how this happened. Like what were the first symptoms? And then how long did that take before? I mean, was she bedridden at some point? How bad did it get? And what was the first time you actually, like, did you have to go? She have to go to an emergency room eventually, and they did all kinds of tests. What exactly went wrong?
Yeah. So basically, she started getting symptoms at about the 3 month mark, and then it started to get really bad at about the 6 month mark.
What kind of symptoms?
Yeah, so the main thing was weakness. Got super weak, and then she got this, she calls it tingling in her body or vibrating, and she started to get it by her tooth first, and then eventually, as she kept moving her body, it spread all throughout her body. So there was one set day when she was carrying I have a youngest brother. He was, at the time, he would have been 3, and she was carrying him around all day, pretty standard thing for her. But then she felt the problem that was close to her tooth drop down into her side, and then from there it started to spread. So she got these symptoms, and then at about the 6-month mark, she got it removed because she knew that this was the problem. There was nothing else going on. And then following that, that's when it got really bad. So for the next year, she was essentially bedridden, as you will. It got so bad. She was so weak. She could barely even lift a spoon to her mouth to feed herself.
Okay. And what did you guys do? I mean, obviously you went to the dentist. They denied that that this was caused by the implant.
Yep.
And did she eventually go to the hospital, and did they run tests and find out what it was?
Yeah, she got every single test done under the sun. I mean, X-ray, CAT scan, freaking polio, Lyme disease, anything that you can think of, she tried it. And all these tests came back, oh, you're healthy, oh, you're healthy, oh, you're healthy. And she was just really confused for a long time. There was doctor frustration forever because everybody basically told her that this isn't even a thing. What are you talking about? This isn't possible.
Okay, so how did they? So what exactly was it? What?
Yeah, so
I mean, obviously, I'm guessing something. The blood. Something got in the blood. What was it?
yeah, so the major point here is titanium implants aren't all titanium. So the problem comes from there's 6% aluminum, and the aluminum that was in the tooth that got in her bloodstream, and it spread all throughout her body. And that's where the problems came from.
And you have proof of that?
Yeah, so the only thing that showed anything on any test was a home third-party test where she got heavy metal tested, and the aluminum tests were off the charts.
Okay, so it's the aluminum in the implant.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what did so take us into what do you cover in the book?
Yeah, so I pretty much just cover her struggles from there. So this has been a 7-year ongoing thing, and she's still not even completely better. That's why I really want to bring knowledge to this thing, because I'm not saying that titanium implants as a whole are awful. I think that lots of people have them all the time, and I think that they work out well for a lot of people. But I don't see how the industry could use something that has such a negative impact on somebody. So after that first year where she was really, really bad, super bedridden, started to get better then from there, going into the year 2, year 3. And then there was one day that came on where she walked too much. That's what she always says. So she walked too much, and then this vibrating sensation that she got from the spreading throughout her body dropped down into her legs. And then from there, she's had problems ever since, still with weakness. And she'll always get, a big thing is on her skin, there's always white coming out all the time, like her body's trying to detox constantly, and almost like it can't do it for itself.
So you would think that, I guess, apparently the aluminum got in the brain. Now you've researched this. Has there been other people that have had this issue?
Yeah, I think it's a tough subject, because I think my mom's case is one of the worst that's ever been out there. But I do think that it's happened at a lesser scale. And I think eventually most people get over it. But I think my mom just had one of the most severe reactions possible to it.
Okay, so what is she doing to detox the aluminum out of her?
Yeah, and that's really the struggle now, is it's still an ongoing process trying to figure it out. She's tried freaking everything there is to try. I mean, water loading, sauna all the time, tried all these heavy metal detoxes and really having a very tough time with it.
Has she had any mental problems from it? Have you noticed that, if she's kind of gone a little crazy or anything?
Yeah, and that's another reason why I wanted, was because it's almost like, she'd kept saying how she's getting better. And I feel like when something goes on for such a long period of time, you almost go crazy from it. It's like you're trying to convince yourself that you're getting better because you want to keep hope in the situation, but realizing from an objective perspective that it's hardly getting better.
Has she contacted a lawyer at all to try to bring up a malpractice claim at all?
Yeah, so the procedure prior to the titanium implant, the doctor said that he messed up and paid for the procedure to get it done. And then once it was done, the doctor who put it in paid for it to get it taken out. But that's all she did. She never pursued any claims trying to get money from it or anything like that.
Okay. Mary Spirit is in the chat room. She says Dr. Pompano can help you. And if you're listening, do you have any idea where he is or what city he's in? And I could tell Boeden to send him find him and shoot him an email. That'd be great. Blue Chicken says aluminum is in sunscreen. I wonder what her vitamin D level is. Have you looked at, what levels of other things are there? Does she use deodorant with aluminum in it? Have you tried to look at all the other things that contain aluminum and eliminate that as well? Because she might have been getting double exposure from all kinds of different products.
Yep, we dived into that completely. She got a palate test on all of her vitamins and minerals. And yeah, we've tried massive loads, freaking every vitamin. Like you said, vitamin D, that was one of the first ones that we did. Tried pretty much every one of them. And yeah, she is very sensitive to aluminum containing deodorants. So we don't use anything like that. Basically 100% natural from here.
Do you think it's possible that she's just allergic to aluminum? Like, I'm allergic to rhubarb, as stupid as that sounds. It's the only thing I'm allergic to. I can't have rhubarb or rhubarb pie or anything with rhubarb. You have to be careful going over to somebody's Thanksgiving dinner that they're not serving rhubarb. That's the only thing I'm allergic to. It'll totally put me in the, swell up my throat. I can't breathe. It's horrible for me. Maybe she's allergic to aluminum. I mean, does she use aluminum foil and drink out of soda cans, that sort of thing?
Yeah, she does, and I don't know if it's exactly an allergy. I think sensitivity might be a better word, but when she's around aluminum, she's not getting your typical allergy symptoms like you said, closing throat, sniffing, that kind of thing. That's not exactly what it is here.
So it's just apparently the aluminum got into her blood and went right to her brain.
Yeah.
And that caused all kinds of problem.
Yep.
B. Potter says, sounds as if it gave her chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Have you looked into that? What exactly is she diagnosed with right now?
Yeah, there hasn't really been an exact diagnosis, and that's part of the whole headache. Is the doctors really burned her bad, and she's to the point where she hardly even wants to go to a doctor because so many doctors made fun of her for coming in, saying that this absolutely isn't even possible. So it's more her personal assessment and major weakness. That's the main problem. Absolutely.
Okay. Have you tried turmeric?
Yes, turmeric. Yeah, she actually takes that daily.
Okay. And Blue Chicken here says gallium dissolves aluminum. Have you tried that?
Have not tried that. No, that's part of it too. We're still ongoing search trying to figure it out. So if anybody in your chat has any ideas, we're all ears. Absolutely.
All right, let me give a shout out to Sweetly Morbid Bear. Says conflict, nice to catch you live, guys. Do hit that thumbs up button. It does help get a bunch of people in here, and that way Boeden can tell his story to more and more people. So do hit that thumbs up button, because things like this are important, that we get this information out there. If there's, obviously what's happening is, and it happens everywhere. We see it all the time. Doctors will cover for doctors, and that's a big problem. There's nobody that's independent in the medical community. They all answer to the American Health Association or whatever else. And if, you see what happened during the flu that was going around back in 2020. Anybody that speaks out against the main narrative, they get punished, and just they get their medical license taken away and all kinds of stuff. It's obviously a cover up. I encourage anybody that's listening to this that has had this same issue to try to reach out to Boeden, and especially if you figured out how to heal yourself or get over these symptoms that maybe his mother can use. This is B. Potter says fibromyalgia, God, I hope I'm saying that right, can sometimes have over 500 symptoms. I've had it since 1967. It's been a lifetime of me trying to figure out what no doctor would do, diagnose me. And that's exactly it. And let's see. Mercury, I guess if it Blue Chicken says something about mercury helps with the symptoms as well. So I don't know where you would get that, or it dissolves aluminum. Sorry, I guess. ABC says fibromyalgia and arthritis are common these days, most probably environmental issues over the last 20, 30 years. Asthma went through the roof when central heating was introduced. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that these duct systems get so full of nasty bacteria and everything else that they blow all over us. And
yeah, I guess I'm not familiar with the term fibromyalgia. What is that exactly?
Well, I can look it up real quick. Fibromyalgia. It's here. It says is a disorder characterized by widespread musculoskeletal pain accompanied by fatigue, sleep, memory, and mood issues. Researchers believe that fibromyalgia amplifies painful sensations by affecting the way your brain and spinal cord process painful and non-painful signals. So maybe that's something, aluminum is in so many products today, between, we hear all kinds of stuff about, you're basically rubbing it on your underarms every day with your deodorants that we use. Akramusa says it's an autoimmune disease, and Sweet Morbid Bear says Scholar Energy work look into those renowned in field like Thom Palladino or Elisa Meduse. So these are some names for you to try to reach out. I'm waiting for.
Yeah, an interesting topic. Well, you kind of brought it up. So in my opinion, I believe that the industry uses fillers like aluminum and vanadium in titanium implants to bring the overall price down. So titanium implants, there's millions done per year. And I think titanium itself isn't necessarily the problem. It's when you use aluminum and you use vanadium. And the reason they do that is because the price per ounce of those two materials is way cheaper than titanium. And when you're talking 2.5 million implants, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So, they're doing what drug dealers do. You get a product and then like say I've got, a pound of cocaine, say, and, I can throw in a half a pound or whatever of baby powder or something, and then mix it all up so that I'm making more money than I should be, really. It sounds like that's kind of what they're doing. Like there's some kind of dirty dealers.
Yep, 100%. And that's one of my main goals. I'd like to see that more regulated, because each individual implant is outsourced and they don't examine each implant the same. Those are averages. So depending on which one you get, you could have more filler material in it than the average. So this needs to be something that should be regulated, and it should have to be 100% titanium. And even better than that, I would like to see it go into ceramic implants. I prefer over titanium implants.
All right. So hear that, guys. If you get an implant, definitely do the ceramic. You know, there should be some kind of, I wonder, have you looked into whether or not there is any independent testing being done on these so-called titanium implants? Do they say that it's 100% titanium, or do they admit that there's these other metals in there?
They admit there's 6% aluminum, 4% vanadium. But again, that's an average. Not every one is analyzed. It's outsourced from a third party when they get them.
Okay. Blue Chicken says titanium is an expensive metal, and the Beat Potter says doctors didn't know what this was until the 90s. They just prescribed antidepressants. Awful. And she's talking about the what we were talking about, the fibromyalgia. I guess they just now figured out what that was. So, has she been diagnosed with anything else, besides? I mean, anything?
No, and that's part of the frustration. She's really had no clear-cut answer at all. And she's been everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely an interesting story. What else? What else? So what was it like growing up with this? Where did it seem like you were really pushing you said you were how old when this all started?
I was 12 years old when it started.
So what kind of effect did that have on you as a 12-year-old watching your mother go through this?
Yeah, looking back, it was really frustrating. I remember thinking all the time how unfair this is. And I remember as I got into my teenage years, my younger teenage years, I almost rejected that it was happening. Looking back, I feel like I handled it pretty selfishly. I felt like it was more unfair towards me when I should have been caring more for my mother. I didn't really even realize how bad it was until I got to 17, 18 years old, and she kind of relived it. But thankful for my youngest brother who helped her with a lot of her everyday tasks when she really needed it, because she was so embarrassed to ask the rest of our family to do them. And my youngest brother hadn't really gone through that stage. He's not going to make fun of her, obviously. So he saved her a lot.
All right. Sup and Stuff says, thanks for being live, Conflict. And, we always do the live show. And just briefly wanted to give a shout out to everybody who's been asking us how to find the live shows. They go to our channel and they can't find any shows. They'll hit the videos tab and nothing ever comes up. You have to click the live tab to be able to find our shows, because we are a live show. So we're not going to be in the videos section. We're going to be in the live section. So if you go to the channel and you're looking for videos, definitely click the live tab, and that's where you'll find all of your Sweetie Morbid makes a good point. She says, you were just a kid. Don't feel that way. And I'll be honest with you right now. My mother died when I was 12 years old. She killed herself, actually. And, I look back a lot and I think to myself, maybe if I had said something or done something, different, or maybe I was misbehaving in school and I shouldn't have been doing that, adding all of these problems, as a kid, and you're watching your parents go through horrible things. I mean, it's easy to look back and try to blame ourselves for what we did when we're 12 years old. But I mean, you're 12, man. I mean, it's kind of not your responsibility, and it's not your job. We ought to be able to count on the medical professionals instead of, having them cover their own butts and cover their own asses, so to speak, for the things that they're doing wrong. And you should probably really try to pursue this. Blue Chicken wants to know, did she get an MRI? Did they see any pockets in the body where it built up that they could see?
Yeah, she got an MRI and nothing really came of it. We'd actually pursued, she's looking into getting another one here recently, because the technology's gotten a little better. It can kind of do a full 360 around her head. So we're going to get a new one here soon. But she did get one a long time ago, and there wasn't anything from it.
All right. And Mary Spirit says, try nitrous oxide with vitamin B6. And you know, a lot of people that listen to this channel, I mean, they know what they're talking about, especially with poisonings of different metals and such. So I suggest maybe you go through and make sure that you've covered all of these suggestions, because some, you know, there's nothing like natural healing. And you know, to try to filter out a toxin that's been put into somebody's blood, or even that went through the brain barrier, is probably something that that needs to be, you know, done naturally, especially if you're not going to get any professional help.
Yeah,
Mary
absolutely.
Spirit says it's the pump-up program. Sounds like it could be expensive. I think that's what she was talking about with the doctor here. Let's see, is that what she had said? I'm trying to scroll up. Dr. Pompano can help her. Yeah, it's a. Let's see, where is it? Right here. I'll put that up on the screen. It's the Pampa program. So maybe Google that or something. If you talk to him, send him an email. Maybe he can work something out for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. If anybody on here who has any ideas, shoot me an email.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions or anything that you'd like to ask, go ahead and throw it up there. We've got about, I guess, 15, 20 more minutes with Boeden here. So let's ABC says Amazon had drone factories in the UK ready to go. 2015, Tesla had semis that are self-driving. Are people now surplus to requirement? Who knows? I don't know what that was about. B Potter says turmeric, all B vitamins, D, E, C, ashwagandha. Was that maca root? He should try acupuncture. Did she try acupuncture at all?
Yeah, she tried acupuncture. Didn't do anything.
That didn't help at all.
No.
Did you try it with more than one person? Because some, you know, you might have gotten somebody that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Okay. Blue Chicken says, I heard that too, B Potter. I hear it's a diagnosis you don't want. It's like a doctor code for we don't know what's wrong.
Exactly.
So that's exactly it. Because, you know, they probably do know what's wrong. It's aluminum, but if they come right out and say that publicly, I mean, they'd have to. I mean, think of what it would do to a lot of companies that, I mean, just look
Yep.
at the, you know, like I said, sunscreens and deodorants and, you know,
100%.
cans and, you know, Pepsi cans and aluminum foil and all of the things that we use aluminum for all these things, and it's cheap.
Yep.
It's really cheap.
And the thing here for me, why I get so baffled by it is, yeah, people are starting to come out with, like you said, the sunscreens and the deodorants, and those are just topical applications. How can somebody put that in your mouth? It just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, especially, you know, around, I guess where the blood's going to be running through it all the time. I'd imagine
Yes.
that's an issue.
Yes.
Ekramusa says, listen to Dr. Christopher Exley. He is an expert on this issue. So there's something else to look into.
Yeah.
Sweetie Morbid Bear says, holistic doctors you can find in the chiropractic field are great. I swear mine has saved my life the last 2.5 decades. And Mary Spirit says, try what's called functional medicine. Search the net for something near you. So there's some interesting stuff. You know, a lot of things too. I mean, you're in North Dakota, so you know, are you kind of out in the middle of nowhere, or are you near I guess what is it, Billings? Oh, no, that's not Billings. It'd be Fargo, right?
Yep. Yeah, I live in Fargo, so we got that.
All right. So what do you think of the Fargo movie? Is that pretty accurate as to what's going on up there?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
You gotta break it down a little bit. I tried getting into the Fargo series, but honestly, it really wasn't that great. Did you watch the series?
I haven't watched the series, no.
All right. Yeah, it's not that good. Don't waste your time. B Potter says everybody's body system is different. Mom has my deepest sympathy. Personally, I'd sue the FDA for approving this torturous procedure. Call me Becky. And Becky, I won't remember to call you Becky. Sorry about that. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but I won't remember. And Blue Chicken says, "LOL, we're all internet keyboard doctors."
Yeah.
Sweetly Morbid Bear says, "Boeden, please remember to take the time for your own healing." And you do realize that you have a lot of your own healing to do, right? As far as this is concerned, it's a
Yeah.
traumatic thing for a kid to go through. I'm telling you, it is. Watching your mother deal with horrible issues. So,
Yeah.
does it give you nightmares at all?
Yeah, it's really frustrating. My main thing is, yeah, it sucks for me, but I just want to see my mom be healthy. That's really my end goal. I have all these other side goals from it. I hope that one, I can prevent people from at least educating yourself on the topic, understanding that if you're gonna get a titanium implant, you're assuming some risk with it. And two, I'd like to see it be regulated. But for the most part, what I want is I want to see my mom be 100% healthy.
All right, and your mom obviously has the worst end of it. Have you talked to anybody else that says that I mean, you were saying your mom's the worst case that you've been able to find. You have found other cases and other people that have had this issue. Have you talked to them personally?
Yeah, so really the only talking I've done is so I come from a small town, about 2000. There was two other people in our town that one had a titanium implant put in their knee, and then there was an old veteran that had a titanium implant put in his mouth, and he had symptoms exactly like my mom. Just weakness. Nobody would ever tell him what's wrong. He said his life was completely destroyed, lost all his muscle, lost 40 pounds. It was a bad deal.
Have you tried looking into any support groups or anything like that?
Not too much. It's definitely something I'm open to. I've been doing some searching.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's obviously affected you a great deal. You've written a book about it. What was it like? When did you first decide you were going to write a book about it? How old were you?
Yeah, I started thinking about it probably a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and realized it hit me one day like this is something that I at least need to get my 2 cents out on to the world. I want people to be aware of this situation. And it's kind of funny too, because probably just 3 years ago, I hated reading, let alone writing. And then it was just like one day I started to get into reading a little bit, and then I started to like writing a lot. And now I love reading and I love writing both. So kind of
Has she,
interesting how that works out.
has she ever tried to replace it? I mean, obviously she's had the implant removed.
Mm-hmm.
Has she tried? Did she get to keep it?
She did not keep it, no. So she just got it removed, and now she just has a hole there.
She probably should have kept it. That way she could have done her own independent analysis of it to
I
find out
know.
exactly what was in it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
was it the same dentist that put it in that removed it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, of course he's not going to give it to you.
Right.
Did you look into where the dentist that did the implants was getting the implants from?
No, did not look into that. And part of the problem too is it was so long ago. I didn't really understand the magnitude of the situation until 3 years ago, and by that time, it's 4 years old.
All right. So, is there anything else you want to talk about this issue, and we'll just shoot the shit for a little while about UFOs and stuff?
Now, I'd say one last thing I want to touch on is it really taught me a lot about gratefulness, and it taught me a lot about your family. I really learned that when things go south, something bad's going to happen in everybody's life. If you can hold on to those closest to you, it makes it so much easier versus trying to completely shut yourself out and hide away from everybody. That pretty much is going to be a self-destruction. And then it also really taught me that, so I obviously wrestle, work out a lot. I love getting up every day because I realize I'm so privileged. I have nothing major physically ailing me, and my mom is sitting here wishing that she could get up and do something. So it just gives me a lot of motivation every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about I mean, obviously, you should be really proud of yourself for what you've done here. You know, taking this issue and bringing it to everybody's attention the way you have. And I hope I'm sure your mother's really proud of you. Also, for everything that you've been doing. I mean, you wrote a book about it. You put it out there. You're on these shows. You're talking about it, and you know, you should be really proud of yourself. And I hope that you have you know, a lot of respect for what you've done and for yourself as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Don't beat yourself up or keep yourself down over things that you didn't do when you were a kid, because we all could do things better, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old than we were. I mean, we were just stupid kids, and there's nothing wrong with admitting that you were a stupid kid. We were all stupid kids, right?
Yeah, all right.
Like good at, like getting all mad, like, why can't you drive me to, so and so and so, this stupid implant thing,
Yeah.
So well done. Hugo Darn says, well done, Boeden. Sweetmore Bear says she's so proud of you for what you've done. B Potter says, I'm sorry. Becky says, definitely try support groups. See, I actually remembered. So Hugo Darn says, well done. And Acre Musa says, drinking a silicone-rich mineral water facilitates the removal of aluminum from the body in urine. So this definitely, I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of things you could do. The main thing is that you got to try to just get that dissolved, get that out. It's
Yeah.
obviously still in there somewhere. And, maybe, I don't know what happens if it gets into your brain, if things like this,
Right.
silicone rich mineral water and things like that help get it out of the brain. Because that blood brain barrier, I'm not sure how any of that works at all. So Top Todd says Mozart was not stupid. He played piano at 6 years old. You could still be a dumb 6-year-old piano player, trust me.
Yeah.
That's probably all he knew how to do. He's probably still wet the bed and
Yeah. Yeah.
and yell at his parents for not doing things that he wanted and have his little tantrums. So Becky said that she's easy to remember. I guess we'll see. We'll see next show if I remember. I remember this show, but not next show. So obviously, there's a lot of people are going to click on this video thinking that we're talking about some kind of alien implant or something, because it's kind of a UFO alien channel that you're on. Have you, just out of curiosity, has she had any lost time episodes or any kind of abduction experience per se? I mean, are we absolutely sure it's from the tooth?
Yeah, absolutely sure.
All right. So contact the top hospital in the U.S., John Hopkins. But then again, Becky, if you have these doctors, they all cover for each other as far as lawsuits and everything else. So Mary says methylene blue is something interesting you could look into. So maybe check that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on? You're going to college right now. What's your life like today?
Yeah. Right now, pretty much just grinding it out. So we're in preseason of wrestling. I'm studying finance at NDSU. So basically a day right now for me is I'm getting up at 6 in the morning. We lift at 7, and then usually go to class from 8 till noon. And then we have practice at 2:30, get back, chill out, do homework. So.
Are you living in the dorm or are you close to home?
No, I got a house with 3 other guys right now.
Okay. So you're living it up. You're living that awesome college life, right?
You know it.
Do you get to go home? How far are you from your house?
Yeah. I go home probably every other weekend. I'm about an hour, 15 minutes from my house.
All right. And how's your mother doing today? Have you talked to her today? I would imagine she's listening to the show, right?
Yeah, I talked to her this morning. Yeah.
You send her the link, told her you're going to be on Conflict Radio?
Yeah. So I would say she says she's at about 35-40% of what her 100% was.
Okay. All right. Sweet Morbid Bear says you and your mother and family will be in my prayers. So
Appreciate that.
prayers are always welcome. And is there anything you'd like to say to your mom? She's listening.
Yeah, she has all the impact in the world. Me and her are best friends. We have a great relationship. So grateful for everything she's ever done for me. So
All right. Awesome, man. And where can people find your book?
yeah, you can find it on Amazon. I have a paperback, audiobook, or ebook, and then on Ingram Spark, I just got it on as well. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Purely Greenley.
All right. Do you have any pictures or anything of these conditions that you'd like to share?
Nothing on me right now. I guess if anybody was really interested, wanted to talk to me after the show, she has pictures of her with, she gets white stuff on her skin all the time, and then she'll get like white on her tongue too. Super crazy.
Have you tried to, I guess, maybe collect a sample of the white stuff that's coming out of her arms or tongue and try to have it analyzed?
Yeah, we tried. It's kind of a tricky process with the doctors, but we think that it's aluminum oxide. And if you look up aluminum oxide, it's a white substance. It's exactly what it looks like is on her arm, and it's what happens when aluminum forms with oxygen in the blood.
You know, you got to wonder, I mean, how she got, if it's from a tooth, how did so much get in her?
I know, it's unbelievable. I wonder if it maybe got in her bones. We talked about as well. Brain also a great possibility. Could be both. Could be really anywhere. Organs.
You know, it really is too bad that you guys didn't get a hold of that implant and have it tested because
I
I
know.
mean, you got to wonder if it was maybe more than 6%. I mean, they obviously, they like to say that, but
Yeah.
you wonder if it was maybe 80% aluminum or something
I
like
know.
that because
I know.
the titanium's so expensive. It just seems like that's an awful lot of aluminum.
I know. It sucks too because I just wish I could go back in time and do all that stuff. But
Did
yeah,
they have any idea where the implant was made?
no. I've talked to my mom about it before. She'd said Africa somewhere. I don't know if that's exactly accurate or not, but
All right. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go and let you get back to your day. I hope you enjoyed coming on Conflict Radio.
yeah.
I normally end the show and talk to my guests a bit off the air, but I've got another guest coming on, so I'm not gonna do that with you, man. I really appreciate you coming on. You got anybody you want to give a shout out to? Any of your friends, or I mean, obviously you shouted out to your mom, but anybody else? Brothers,
Yeah.
sisters?
Shout out to the family. Randall Greenley, Griffin Greenley, Drake Greenley.
All right, there you go, guys. Boeden, thanks so much for coming on, man. I'm gonna let you slide on out of here.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
you
Appreciate
got it,
everybody in
buddy.
the
And
chat too. Thank you.
everybody, the link for the book is down in the description box below. You want to support Boeden? I mean, he's a great kid. He's just trying to, spread the word, help out his mom and his family. Thanks so much for coming on, and I encourage everybody to get down there and purchase your book, man.
Yeah, thank you, Michael.
All
Appreciate
right,
everything.
and good luck in college and with your with all of your wrestling stuff.
Yeah, heck yeah. Go Conflict Radio, baby.
All right, man. Take it easy, buddy. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good one. You too.
All right, bye bye. All right, guys. So that was Boeden Greenley, and that was quite an interesting story. Let me go ahead and throw this back up here so I can relax a little bit without feeling like everybody's watching me. What did you all think of that? We've got, just so we're clear and you guys know what's up, we've got about 10-15 minutes before David Lanier is going to join us. He has lived here in Huntsville, Alabama for a very long time, and he's had a ton of experiences and things going on. You guys are going to be fascinated with this show coming up here in just a little bit. So let's chat a little bit with you guys and see what's going on. I see there's a lot of people still in here. Top Taz says, I missed it. I don't know what this is all about. Top Taz, there was about quick show with dental implants. The kid sent me an email, and talking about his mom, how he wrote this book to help out his mom. And I couldn't help but have him on. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Always try to help out, young kids, trying to help out their family. And gotta love it, right? Mary says, reminded me of things I need to further research for myself. It's true. There's a lot going on. B. Potter says, as he talked to CNN, 60 Minutes, CBS, NBC, World News Tonight, they should have saved the implant. Yeah, I think that's a horrible thing that they say that they didn't save the implant. But keep in mind, this was a while ago. I mean, you wouldn't think to do something like that, and it's a shame that maybe she didn't go to a different dentist or something else to try to get refused to have them take it out unless they were actually able to keep it. I think that would have been a great part of the story, right? To see exactly what was all right. So David just messaged me. He's about to hop on. So what do you guys think? Sweet Morbid Bear says that was informative. Thank you. I'm actually going to listen to what I missed. Yeah, I mean, give it a shot. I mean, it's definitely an important interview. And let's bring David on. Hang on, guys. Boof. David, how are you doing? David Lanier from. Can I say where you're from?
I am currently in Huntsville.
Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I'm at, actually. So we're not far away from each other.
Howdy, neighbor.
Thanks for joining the show, man. You've been posting some interesting videos on X lately, and I don't know if you could share your screen and maybe bring some up for us to see. But let's talk a little bit. You don't have to do it right this second. As we go throughout the show, let's talk a little bit about who you are and what your experiences are, man.
I mean, I'm nobody special.
We're all special, man.
Yeah, at least my mom says I'm special.
We're all fractals of one being.
I agree.
So we are all special.
I think that's a true statement. I don't have a really impressive resume. I was a musician for a long time. I studied music in school. Music, personal chef. I was involved in real estate related tasks with my father-in-law's real estate company. Got married young, had kids young, worked odd jobs, worked a lot. So not a super impressive resume. I'm not like a GS-15 clearance CIA officer.
That's not impressive.
Yeah. Well, no, it is, but I as far as my experiences go, just like briefly, I have seen craft, like physical machines in the air at very low altitudes. Some were as close as about 30 feet above me. Some were about 50 feet above me. Some were 100 feet. Some were several hundred feet. Of the triangles, the black triangles. One really big one smaller one. A crescent, like a crescent moon or a croissant. A metallic sphere. What else? A teardrop. And then something that was shaped like an X, a lot of orbs. And then that eventually led to beings, like what we would consider to be grays. I saw one. My wife, who now unfortunately is my ex-wife, so big news brief there for everybody keeping up with my story. She saw them as well. My kids had some experiences. There were what might be implant type situation with one of my kids, lots of nosebleeds with the girls. My wife saw grays, or she said she did. I saw one for sure. And that went on for about 3 years. And then we kind of found ways to make it stop, or tried to make it stop. So that's just like a brief synopsis of the experiences.
Okay, so we are going to get into this a little bit, but I do want to now. I'm going to bring up the Huntsville map here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't need to point out exactly where these experiences took place, but this was all in one location, correct?
Well, the experiences, I am currently living in Huntsville because I have recently gotten divorced. So the house that it happened was in Coleman, Alabama, which is about 40 minutes south of Huntsville. So let's see here.
Okay, I'm looking here. Is that off 231? Oh, here it is.
It's
I
going to be
got it.
on 65 South. Yeah, right there.
Okay, so
zoom in, and
this is
then
Coleman here.
Yeah, so
were you on the outskirts, like to the east, north, or
yeah,
south?
I would have been drag it to the right, and I would have been other way. I'm sorry, my right.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, out towards the county. Yeah, it's about 40. I kind of want to grab it and show you, but I can't. Yeah, it's
like out here.
Yeah, I mean, not exactly, but yeah, kind of out in that area. Yeah.
Towards these mountains.
Yeah,
Logan.
roughly. I mean, that's not exactly it, but it would be kind of out in that area because we were out in the country.
So should I move it up, down? I'm trying to.
Let's see. Go back to Go see where it says the Days Inn, Wyndham, Coleman, right there. That exit. Okay, that's the exit. And actually, I saw my first UFO off of that exit, and it's going to be, if you took that exit and then take a left off that exit, head out into the country, it's out that way. So it would be
down 74.
That Spring Hill grocery store right there, like in that general area, like.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to get exact, but it was right around in here.
I don't want people.
No,
but yeah,
exactly.
if you kind of triangulated in that area, that's roughly where.
Yeah, so right about in here somewhere.
Yep.
So you got to wonder where, if there was an alien base around here, you got to kind of wonder where it would be.
Yeah.
Now, I have heard that the alien base is up here at the north, or the Tennessee, Mississippi state line, somewhere around this area here, and that's actually not too far from where you were.
Yeah.
So I mean, as we hunt down the space guys, you have to.
I think that just generally speaking, you had you know, a lot of solid reports of UFOs coming out of the ocean. So you have the Gulf of Mexico, like 5 hours south, which by UFO is not very far. Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. We all know this has to do with the Redstone Arsenal and Operation Paperclip and all that. That's going on here. There's so many UFOs around here. It's insane. Why don't you tell us about your first interaction that you had with these beings?
With an actual alien or with the craft?
Your first, whether it's an alien or a craft, tell us about your first experience.
Well, the first one was, I was 17, and that map you just had pulled up where the Days Inn was, I pulled off that exit, and I was sober. I was about 17 years old. Would have been 1997. Came up the ramp, the exit ramp, came off the exit ramp, and then came to the stop sign, came to a stop. And I had a friend in the car with me. I looked to the left, looked to the right, and then I don't know how far, probably somewhere between like 1-2 miles away, low on the horizon, was a blimp. It looked about the size and shape of a blimp, maybe a little bigger, but just kind of oblong, like a stretched out oval. And it was emanating like red light. It looked like a star. You know how a star has the points of light that come off of it? It was a similar situation where it had the points of light that were coming off of, but it was red, like it was red light, and the craft itself looked almost holographic, like it wasn't all there, but it was, but it wasn't. It was just flashing like purple and pink and all these different colors, but it was just like flashing it so fast that it was like it almost looked like a hologram or something, but it was just slowly moving across the horizon, very, very slow. And then again, no CE5, no drugs. I wasn't out looking for this. I wasn't a sci-fi guy. I had not been smoking weed and watching Star Wars. I just looked at it and I thought in my mind, like, I was like, is that a UFO? Like, am I looking at a UFO? And as soon as I thought that, it just went like, pow. And it took off like the way they described the Tic Tac, where it just immediately like accelerated and looked like it had been shot out of a gun. And it just left a red streak across the horizon on the same plane it was on. And then the red tail closed up behind it. And then it was just a star, like a planet or a star. And it just twinkled and then disappeared. And I looked at my friend, he looked at me, and we just died laughing hysterically. And that was the first interaction. And then all the way until I think I was 32 or 33 years old. So it would have been like 2012, roughly, that I saw an alien. But 3 years before that, I had started to see a lot of orbs and physical craft, like over my home directly. Okay. Yeah.
So were you in a good place while this was happening? Like, were you depressed and down?
I was in a good place. I mean, life is tough, generally speaking. Everybody has good days and bad days, but I was not, I wasn't grieving or mourning anything to my recollection when they started showing up in my 30s. But I want to say that the experience overall was negative, but mainly because it was so confusing and shocking. You know, that had less to do with the intent, which wasn't super clear, although there did seem to be communication. But it was not a good experience. But I don't think it had anything to do with like me attracting that in. And it just had more to do with the fact that I was next in line, you know, for whatever they were doing. And that I had had interactions before, or I had seen them before. You know, it's a long story.
So we got a long time to chat. So tell me about your first interaction with the beings.
Well, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's too late now. It's too late for me. You either believe me or you don't. I have some video footage, and even then people don't believe me, but sometimes I could hear in my head voices, like you were having a schizophrenic kind of breakdown, and it was either a female voice that sounded kind of robotic, or something that was like male and a bit more serious, and then something that didn't even sound like it spoke our language at all. And I would hear these voices sometimes remote, like I would just be sitting in my living room. I would hear something say, "Come outside." I would go outside and there would be like an orb up in the sky, or there would be a craft up in the air. And it went on like that for a while. And, you know, then my wife saw beings before I did. I was seeing a lot of the craft. I saw discs. There was a disc like in the woods at our house, like very low in the trees. The teardrop thing was like directly over the house. So I was seeing the craft and I was hearing these voices and I was seeing orbs. But my wife actually saw the beings first. And she saw what she said it looked like it was coming through the wall. And she did not have any prior knowledge of any of this. She did not know that that's something that is reported. She said it looked like it was coming through the wall, and she said it was really tall because its head was almost up against the ceiling, and our ceilings were about 7 feet. And so she said she, dug her fingernails into my bicep to try to wake me up, and I was just out, and I wouldn't wake up. And she pulled the covers over her head and then fell asleep. That happened again, where she woke up one night and saw two shorter grays standing side by side at the foot of the bed on my side of the bed. And they were just standing there. Same thing. She covered her head and fell asleep.
So did she say that the short grays that she saw by the bed and the one that came through the wall, they looked the same? One was just taller, or did they look like they were different beings?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was two different beings, but it was still like the big black eyes and the no nose, just the nostrils, and just the small little slit for a mouth and kind of the bulbous head, just the general like alien gray look. So she was seeing beings before I did, and it really upset her. And she was pregnant at the time.
Okay.
And there were, physical traces. She would have, it was bad. She would have like what looked like puncture wounds on her belly button in the morning. Like they would be scabbed over and they weren't there the night before. I would have like what looked like somebody had put a cigar out on my elbow, but it only was there for like 24 hours. Lots of night sweats, lots of weird dreams about like the world ending and aliens coming to gather people up. And my wife was having those dreams too. So
what do you mean by gathering people up? You mean like they're putting them on space arcs?
Mm-hmm. Like they were coming to gather people, and the world was like, I wouldn't say in chaos, but like they had started to show themselves in mass. And I didn't know what was going on. I was not part of ufology, so I had no context for any of this. I didn't know these are the types of dreams other people have. But it was like there was flooding, like the water levels were super high. Everybody was really depressed. Everybody was sad. There were UFOs like all over the sky. And then they would land. And then my wife had a dream where they told her that she could get on board. Like this is going to happen in the future. And if you want, you can get on board and we'll take you off the planet. I got similar messages and dreams, but I never communicated that to her because we thought we were going crazy. And then down the road, we found out that we were having like the same dreams. And so, yeah, they were gathering people and taking them off the planet. And then I started getting these messages that like it would be easier for them to communicate with me if they could be face to face. And I just was like, absolutely not. Like I'm having a hard enough time as it is. And I mean, there were nights where like it was bad. bad.
Well,
Just
what
scary.
do you mean bad? Like,
Like because I was not involved in UFOs at all. I wasn't in ufology. I didn't know about anything. I didn't know about Whitley Strieber. I didn't know about any of this. So it's a lot, to come home from work at 11:30 at night and have like a teardrop shaped UFO, like literally 20 feet over your house, just sitting in the air. And then I was parked in my car and it flew over me. And I leaned back in my car so that the roof of my car blinded me. Like I couldn't see it because I was afraid to look at it. It just made me sick at my stomach. And I looked back out to see where it had gone. And I looked back and it was back where it was. And it was like the whole scene happened over again. Like it was a loop in a tape reel. And I mean, that's very unsettling just to come home and see that. And then have to hear that your wife is seeing things come through the wall and that there's two little grays at the foot of the bed. So one night I was playing video games. I was up late at night because I was afraid to go to sleep. because I was afraid if I went to sleep, they would come in the house. So I was like, if I can stay awake, at least I can just like chase them off or something, or try to do something to keep them away. But I saw a shadow run by the door or through the window. There was a door in the kitchen that had a window pane, and the living room was next to the kitchen. And I was sitting in the living room, and I could see the door, and it just looked like a shadow just went by the window. Didn't pay it any mind. Then the shadow went the other way. Didn't pay it any mind. Shadow went back a third time, and then finally I looked, and I was like, "What?" And then there was this green fog or mist that looked like it was coming in out of a tiny little needle hole, like it was coming in out of nothing. But it was like it was being, like if somebody had blown smoke through a little hole, you know, but you couldn't see the person or the hole.
Well, like in the sky or in the
No,
wood?
like on the other side of the window, 6 feet away from me, and
Yeah.
on the other side of the door in the carport, like eye level. And so it's this green mist, and the green mist came in, and then it started congealing and coming together, and then it was just like, whew, there was a head in the window. And it was a gray. I mean, it had the big black eyes, and it had no nose. It just had 2 little nostril slits, and it had a little tiny, looked like a boomerang, but just a little hole for a mouth. And I stood up and I took a step towards it, and I've measured it since, and it was 6 feet away. And I just looked at it, and its skin looked like almost plastic or rubber. Like it didn't look like skin. It looked thick and rubbery or plastic almost. It was weird. It almost looked like a helmet or something. And it had really pronounced cheekbones, and there was a porch light behind it, or above it, behind it. And you could see the shadows under its cheekbones from the light. Like this thing had just come out of a mist, and now it's like physically there. And the eyes were big, and they they probably wrapped around to about here, so they came to where our temples would be, and they were angled a little bit. And I couldn't see its body. I could only see like a little bit of its neck and its shoulder, and it was just black right here. And its skin was kind of a light green, like a lime green almost. But I've compared it to the glow in the dark stars that you put on your ceiling, but not when they're glowing, but during the daytime. You know what I mean? Like on a kid's ceiling, it's like that kind of greenish white color. And I'm just looking at it, and it also had, if I recall correctly, like an ear hole, but it didn't have an ear. And it's not looking at me, it's looking straight ahead, and I'm looking at it, from an angle, looking through the window of the door 6 feet away. And then I have this blank where I don't remember anything. And then suddenly it's turned and it's facing me, and it's still on the other side of the door. I can see it through the window, but its skin is darker. Now its skin is like a dark, mossy, brown, earthy green. It's still green, but it's a darker tone of green. And it's looking right at me now. And I just had this panic feeling like it's about to come through the door. And I just looked away, and I said, no. Because at this point I had been communicating with him. So I kind of felt like, it's conversational. I was just like, no, absolutely not. And I looked back, and it was gone. And I went to the door and looked through the window, and my dog was outside, and she was her hackle was up, that hair ridge that comes up that they lift. It was an Australian Shepherd. She had her hackle up, and she was just like real panicked and sniffing all around the car and around the area that it was standing. And so that was that was when I saw a gray. And I have spoken with, I don't know if you know who John Ramirez is.
No.
He was a CIA officer, GS-15, G-15, whatever it is. But I spoke with him, and he had seen a similar thing, like the green mist. And I've spoken to a couple of other people who have seen the green mist as well. And, that was the alien. that I saw. And I mean, it just so much happened because it was over the course of like 3 years, but they were in the house, they were outside the house, they were in the air above the house in their craft, and there were red and orange and white and blue orbs that were flying above the house, and sometimes they would be flying with the craft.
Now you do
Um,
have some videos of these that you took, didn't you?
I have videos of the orbs, but they actually, and this sounds crazy, and I know this is just a debunker's delight when I say this, but I really did get the sense that they did not want me to film them, and that if I put the cameras away, they would get closer and it would be more intimate. And sure enough, I mean, some of those craft were like, I could have hit them with a rock if they flew over me. I mean, when they flew over me. Um, and again, I have, I don't want to just go on and on and on, but I have nothing to gain from this. I've again,
Yeah, dude. Nobody
nah,
here is going to doubt what you're saying, and I don't doubt what you're saying at all. I think there's a lot of things going on with the Redstone arsenal that, I mean, they'll probably never admit to. I do want to ask you this because we've had a reptilian presence here in Huntsville for quite some time, and
mhm,
I've talked to people and you know that are experts on this that can actually sense these beings, and they've been here in Huntsville telling me the areas they've been where they can actually sense them, even down to a parking garage in downtown Huntsville where
mhm,
they can actually sense them in the parking garage there. So I do know that there's an issue with these beings here. Huntsville, Alabama is a notorious deep state military research town, and
mhm,
I mean, we got Raytheon here,
mhm,
Boeing here, uh, Base Systems is here, and Base Systems does a lot of the microwave. I believe Base Systems does a lot of the microwave brain, Havana syndrome type stuff where they can actually implant thoughts in your mind. I believe Base Systems is behind that. Uh, they've attacked. I mean, you've heard of Amy Eskridge, right? I mean,
mhm.
they've attacked her with these same microwave type weapons. Um, Let me ask you, when did this stop? Is it still going on, or has it stopped?
It stopped around 2014, and I felt like there was a conscious effort made to stop it between both my wife and I both, and other people who would be considered like shamans, healers. Um, I don't want to say priests, but people involved in the church, friends, people who practice white magic, meaning like good magic, witches, these kind. So just people from different walks of spiritual hygiene, as it were, came in, and we tried to get them to go away, and it seemed to stop. Um, but I always just had the sinking feeling that it didn't really stop, but it wasn't as intense. And then when I joined X and or it was UFO Twitter then, when disclosure was coming in like 2020. I got really open about it, got really public about it, and I kind of like, there's a sync up that has to occur. And I felt like it synced me back up. And then I started seeing orbs again in like 2023, 2022, 2023.
Now, is this the same house?
Yeah, it was the same house. It's all on the same property. Like the house that it happened at, all of the encounters, is next door to the current residence,
Okay.
which I don't live at anymore.
Can you show us this property? I mean, I know you've posted some pictures on X and stuff. Can we bring those up? Can you share your screen and show us?
I don't know how to share. I don't do this often. I don't know how to screen share, and I'm not gonna like spend the next 10 minutes fumbling through that. And I do have photos of like the general area, but I don't want to show like a satellite image just because of
Yeah.
my wife and children's privacy.
I'm looking for. I know you posted a picture of your backyard, so to speak. So I'm
Yeah,
looking.
it's on 37 acres, and our house sat up on a. It's messing me up that the camera's like backwards. Our house is up on a hill, and then down below the hill there's a valley, and so a lot of them would fly over the valley, which meant they were eye level with the house, but about 150 feet above the valley floor. And oh God, one night there were these big orange orbs, like big orange orbs. There were 4 of them right in a row, and then there was a smaller one above the 4, a 5th one, and they all just moved in unison, like slowly towards me, and they were big. That freaked me out. And then the metallic sphere. I saw a metallic sphere before I knew that was a thing. I when I heard about UFOs, I was like, all I knew was like flying saucers and the little alien gray. Like that's all I knew from like movies and comic books and things, and cartoons. So when I saw a flying metal ball like at 80 feet in the air, roughly coming over my yard, and it had a light on it, and it turned the light on, it swung the light, and it shined it on me for a good 5 seconds. And I had no idea that was even a thing. So when I joined the disclosure movement and I start hearing about pilots and people out at sea seeing these metallic spheres, I was just like, what? Yeah, there it is. That's my backyard, or was my backyard.
Okay,
But
so
they would be coming. See where the that's an ornamental, or not ornamental. That's a cedar tree right there, right in the middle of that freshly, beautifully mowed lawn. Thank you very much. So they would be coming in. See that tree to the right of that cedar, about above that cedar, but below that. I don't know what kind of tree that is to the right, and they would be about that height, most of them. And I mean, clear as day. Like some of these things, they were like machines. Like it was a machine, and I'm telling you, if I had had a rock and thrown it at it, it would have gone thunk against that rock, because now that's something else. That was
okay, that's not you there.
no, that is not me. Oh wow, it's weird seeing all the pictures. I use that catastrophic GIF often. I crack me up. But
Yeah,
I've used some AI tools to try to recreate the aliens we saw.
Okay, so here's one here.
Yeah,
That's just a picture. That's not a.
Yeah, that was over the house, and I mean, again, that was like 150 to 200 feet over the house.
So this might not have anything to do with you at all. This could just be the property that you're on.
No, because my mother had paranormal experiences as well, and then I saw that UFO when I was 17. That was unrelated, and I have been like in other areas. Yeah. See, I'm moving the camera around. Now the camera is still, and so that thing is moving on its own. And it, to the naked eye, it was just like a blue, purple, just look, I don't know, just a light, like it was emanating light. So I'm moving the camera there, and then now the camera's stationary, and it's moving left to right. I mean, right to left across the screen. And it was just a blue ball of light. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was only 150, 200 feet up in the air. And that was, I had asked them to show themselves to see if it still worked. And so that was one night. And then the next day, an orange one followed me to work. And I have it on film as well. But I haven't showed that one yet because people are jerks and nobody believes me. But yeah, so.
Yeah, let me take a look at a couple more of these here. I gotta. Get that out of full screen
And
mode.
again, like I have the exact time, date, and location. Oh, now you can hear my daughter in the background. So this would have been that valley I just showed you. This was flying over the valley, and I had the camera on a tripod. And so right here, it comes out from behind a tree. You can see it rotate right there. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
What is that, huh?
What is that?
Yeah, and then my daughter sees it.
Around. Yeah, there it goes.
And that's on a tripod, so that's a stationary
it
camera.
Hmm.
You know, stuff like that happen often, but that one little clip where it comes out from behind the tree and you can see it rotate and spin. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's the same one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then,
This
yeah,
one?
that was, yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah. That was, I don't know what that was. There was one night where I saw a disc and it was in the woods right by the house. I was not far from it at all. And it looked like a safari hat. It just had a dome and a flat bottom. And it just looked like a disc, like a safari hat flying saucer. And it had two headlights. And then a little white light on top of it. So that thing I just filmed, I don't even remember filming it, but I lived very close to an airport in that area. And the airport is to the north. So that thing was flying towards me coming to the west. It was going east to west. And it was a couple hundred feet up. But there's so much air traffic, like Cessnas coming through there.
Is this one of the discs that you saw here?
No. That's the, I can't remember the name. Calvine UFO. That was in England.
Okay.
But yeah, there's my wife.
What did they look like that there?
No, it looked like, do you remember when the ODNI released that seal? And it had a UFO on it? This was like in 2020?
No, I don't.
Okay,
actually.
it looked a lot like that. I mean, just it looked like a safari hat. Like if you like a picture, like if you just found a picture of a safari hat. That's
so this is what it looked like. The one
not
that come in.
Well, the lips are wrong. It didn't have lips. You know, it's hard to get AI to cooperate.
Yeah.
But the skin color is similar, and the skin tone is similar, and the eyes are similar. The nostril holes were a little smaller and a little closer to the eyes, and the mouth did not have lips. And it was just like a small slit, but the color and the skin and the eyes are very, very close. For sure. That yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Oof. It
All
was rough, man. It's not something I would wish on anybody.
Those orb videos are pretty fantastic, especially the blue one.
I'll say this, that I posted that on X, and everybody was like, you know, like it's a star, it's a planet. I was like, well, no, it's not, because the context is that I saw it 150 to 200 feet. The average tree is 100 feet tall. It was probably 50 to 100 feet above my house, flying very slowly. And I filmed it. I would ask anybody to go get, I had an iPhone 11, to go get an iPhone 11 and zoom in on a star, make sure it's blue, and make sure it's moving, and then get back to me. And it was silent. So I showed that video to some people who have not gone public, who were on the UAP task force, because I went to the SCU in Huntsville, and there was like an after party kind of.
Are you talking about the one here that they just had here?
That blue one that you just showed.
Oh, who's
and
that?
They got
Russ Colehart was here, right?
Yeah, Ross was there, but I mean, there were other people there that I'm not sure we're supposed to be there, or we're kind of there.
Chrissy Newton, I know, was there. I know a
Yeah,
few.
she was there, but I'm talking like there were people there who were on the UAP task force, the way Stratton and Elizondo and Grush were, but they're not public, so people don't know their name. And I've learned my lesson now. I don't want any more hate mail from anybody from the Strattons. I don't want to piss anybody off, but so I'm being careful. But there were other people from the UAP task force that were there, and I showed them that video, and they were impressed with it because they know what they're looking at. But then these people on, X and Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days, like, nothing's ever good enough for those people. So to me, that said something. And I have, again, one of them came to my work. Like at the time I was reporting to work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was there above me at 5 o'clock in the morning at work. And there were other instances where they would like follow me around. Like I went down to Orlando and saw some orbs. And two, I'm pretty objective and I'm logical. So I'm willing to admit some of it is misidentifications, but some of it is not. But yeah, I mean,
It sounds like that. To me, it sounds like a lot of this was a very bad experience. You wouldn't say this was a good experience at all. It sounds like you're traumatized by this all.
Oh, very much. I mean, again,
Did they take you? Were you
well, I
taken
mean,
at all?
I think so. I don't remember it, but I think so because I would have like, I don't know, like I have on the back of my leg, I have 4 white little scars sequentially that get smaller, a big one, a little bit smaller, a little bit smaller, 4 in a row at the back of my calf. And then I
Making
have
like a triangle?
no, it's a straight line.
Uh-huh.
And then I have a divot, a little divot taken out of my shin. My daughter's had nosebleeds all the time. My son, he didn't know at the time that this was happening, because I didn't want to tell my kids that this was going on. I don't want to traumatize them. But he told me one day, he was 8 years old at the time. He's 22 now. But he said he woke up one night and he was stuck to the ceiling and he heard footsteps on the roof. And then shortly after that, there was this thing in the bottom of his foot that was about that big and about as big around as a pencil. And it just looked like a giant splinter had been like injected into the bottom of his foot. And on one end of it, it looked like the skin had been twisted and pinched off, but it was already scarred overnight. And it bothered him to walk, and it affected his, he was on a baseball team, he was on gymnastics, and he couldn't do it because it was bothering him. So my wife made a doctor's appointment. And as soon as she made the doctor's appointment, within days, it was gone. And there was just this big, looked like somebody took a little something and scraped it out. And then there was a second scar that was just the scrape. And so recently, my son has heard me talking about this. So he went to the doctor to have that looked at. And the doctor found 4 little nodes, 4 little things under that scar. He said there's 4 circular, hard nodes under there. And I don't know what it is, but if it bothers you, you can come back. And I have spoken with people from the intelligence community who know this, who are willing to put me in touch with Gary Nolan and have that tested. But my son does not want to have it tested because he says he doesn't want the government in his life and he doesn't want all this alien stuff to be a part of his life. So when I say it was bad, it had less to do with the intent and more to do with just like, I had no idea what was going on. When you hear that there's aliens coming into your bedroom at night when you're not home, like I was at work and they were coming into the house, it's upsetting. It's upsetting to come home from work and see a teardrop. It just looked like a pear or a teardrop, but it was on its side. And it was over the house. And it had 3 lights on the bottom of it in a row. And it had little green lights on these nubby little round wings on the bulb of the teardrop. And there's a case from Peru where a U.S. military personnel, I can't remember his name, but he saw one crashed in Peru, and what he described sounds almost exactly like what was over my house. So I mean, it was bad only because I didn't get into UFOs. I had a normal life, relatively speaking, and it was just too much to process. You know, it's like having an intruder in your house on a regular basis that you can't stop, that isn't a human. So that's unsettling.
Have you
Intent aside.
Are you religious at all? Did you try mentioning Jesus or anything
Yeah,
like that to get them to go away? Because I've heard that if the Greys are around and you mention Jesus, they'll want to leave. Have you tried that?
I have. I did actually. And it worked, or it seemed to. And I'm not religious. I mean, I believe that there's a God. I believe in an afterlife. I believe um I struggle with faith. I don't like to just blindly trust in things. But I was raised Christian, and then, in my teenage years kind of went through experimenting with different things, different religions.
don't we all?
Well, yeah, but like I just mean like spiritually speaking, and
Yeah.
and so even before all of this, I was already involved in meditation and Buddhism and transcendental thought patterns. I was already, I don't know what the word is for that. I don't want to say enlightened because that's so egotistical, but I was already, it's not like UFOs happened and then put me on that path. I was already on that path. And then the UFOs came along. But yes, so when it became too much, like because I got to go to work, I got to go to the grocery store, I got to go pick up my daughter from ballet. I can't have aliens in my house at 11 o'clock at night. And
Yeah.
it's too much. So we decided that it needed to stop. And so the first step was I quit talking to them. I ignored them and I asked them to leave. And then I started doing things like chakra cleansing, Kundalini rising, meditated, got real healthy, ate real healthy, was totally sober. Uh, and then, yeah, Jesus came into the fold. Definitely, because we had people come to the house, like we had shamans come and smudge the house with like sage and whatnot. And then we had um, people bring crystals and organite. My wife would sit out in the yard surrounded by organite, meditating while pregnant,
Uh-huh.
asking for these things to go away. We would pray, we would ask Jesus uh, to spare us, and it did stop. And I can't deny that it definitely stopped. So I
Has
don't
it
know if
has it
there's a
started
hook
up
there.
again since then?
Nope. And I feel like I have some control over it. Like I don't like those things. Um I don't care what anybody says. I think they're a little shifty, or they're at least selfish. I don't think that they care about us that much, but I don't know. The whole thing was confusing because they did communicate like what they were doing. I don't know
Well,
if I was going crazy or what, but they did. There was communication, like with craft and with orbs, telepathically about why it was happening and what they were doing, and it seemed like a good thing. But then when you experience it, like they're like, okay, this is what's happening. This is why it has to happen. But then when they do it and they come in the house and they park their car over your house, their craft, that it feels a lot. It feels invasive. It was a lot. I
so
wouldn't
did
wish it
you
on
ask
anybody.
him any questions like who they were or where they were from?
I didn't ask where they were from. I didn't ask who they were, but it's going to take me a minute to recall it. But I did ask why it was happening. One thing that they did say, or that was communicated repeatedly, is that I wouldn't understand. Like it doesn't matter. Like there were just some things that were beyond my comprehension. I was like, try me, like help me. I'm like, what the hell? But they essentially said that what they were doing involved beefing us up genetically. And I'm just, I know how crazy this sounds, but that they were kind of turning us into something more, like genetically more, to withstand disease and pain and these kinds of things. And that it was for a purpose, but that purpose couldn't be revealed yet. But as I lived my life, it would make more sense. And it had to be done. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. It had to be done, but nobody would remember anything. And I said, is this happening to my kids? Yep. Is this happening to the baby that's in my wife's womb? Yep. Is this happening to my wife? Yep. I said, well, leave them alone and just do it to me. And that's when I started coming to the house after I was gone, which rubbed me the wrong way. But it was just like, I had no say in it. And, it was all for a good purpose, but it was just like, it was not super clear exactly what they were. Well, no, I mean, it was genetic related. And I asked if I was one of them, like, am I an alien? And they said, no, but you are a direct descendant of the mutated humans. And I know that sounds nuts, but
No, it doesn't. Amy Eskridge, she spoke about a lot of these beings are actually from like 100,000 years in the future, or 10,000 years, or whatever. I don't remember exactly what it was she said, but that there's some kind of event that's going to happen within the next 10 years that's going to only have the humans that are underground survive. And over 50,000 years or whatever of humans living underground, because we can't be on the surface for whatever reason,
because it's going to
we mutate into these gray beings. I don't like that idea per se, but a lot of people tend to, at least it's what these beings are saying.
Well,
whether they're from the future or whether they're future evolved humans that have been underground all this time. I mean, I don't know, but I definitely wouldn't trust what they're saying.
I don't. It's very confusing. I kind of feel like if they were truly like peaceful and benevolent and here to like really help, it wouldn't be so confusing. It would be pretty cut and dry who they are, where they're from, and what they're doing. And that's not the case. Matter of fact, it's the opposite. But what sucks is that they do it anyway. Like I do feel like, again, that there are metaphysical defenses, like the spiritual hygiene kind of stuff. I think that there's metaphysical defenses, like the electromagnetic field that's around a human. They have done, it emanates from the heart. They have done scientific studies that say that psychological information can be encoded into this electromagnetic field. And I do think that psychologically, telepathically, electromagnetically, you can repel these things. And apparently some of the smaller craft can be taken down with EMP weapons. So there does seem to be like some defensive measures that can be taken, which is why I think that they kind of do like sneak around and do the whole like tell one person one thing, tell somebody else another thing. They're running their own psyops to cover their own tracks. That said, when you see a craft that close, when you see a being that close, you do get this like real sick feeling that like this is a superior being. The way you would feel like if you just were naked in a cage with a tiger, like you're out of your element,
Yeah.
And there is that feeling, but that said, there seems to be some kind of defensive measures that can be taken. But I've heard people say that that's just part of the game, that there are no defensive measures. They just want you to think that, so you'll drop your guard. I don't know. But yeah, I do think they're underground. I think they're underground. I think they're on the moon. I think they're in the oceans. I think they're in mountains. I think they're larger craft and they're in those. And I think they may be on Mars as well. So
yeah, I actually think that they're beings that have been on Earth for a long, long time. I
Yeah.
really do. And from what I hear, our solar system and the Earth has been, the good ETs are actually here. They've been here for a few years now, and they've been cleaning out a lot of these bad ETs. That might be why that stopped. How long ago would you say that this has stopped as far as the beings go? I mean, they're not seeing your kids anymore, right? They're not bothering your wife or you
I
anymore, right?
hope not, man. I hope not. I worry
But
about it.
I mean, they would
Um,
tell you.
nah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, my kids would, but like,
Yeah.
no, I haven't seen them since 2014. Like sometimes, and my wife would tell you this, like, well, but like I would still, that's been almost 10 years ago. But I still, like, in the last 10 years, will just wake up, just shoot up out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, just sweating, crying, panic, saying, leave me alone, leave me alone. And I don't even remember doing it half the time. And so um, it's intense for sure. And and as far as like you brought up reptiles in Huntsville, and I don't know about that. Like I speak pretty openly about what I know because I saw it and I lived
Mhm.
it, but I never saw any reptiles. But the one I did see, it was green. So I don't know, I don't know what to think about that. But my brother-in-law at the time, when all that was going on with me, he I don't know why he did it. I guess because he's just really curious and wanted to know, or I don't know, but he practiced black magic essentially. And he said that he summoned a reptile, but it was a shadow being, and it grabbed him, and he tried to stab it, and then he stumbled backwards and ran out the door. And he spent 2 weeks in the mental hospital after that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wasn't there to see that. I don't know if it happened or not. And I know that John Ramirez, that same guy from the CIA, he has a similar story that he said he saw a reptile and it grabbed him. So I don't know. And then Ross Coulthart hadn't asked me anything. And somebody asked him about like what's in the craft, like what are the beings, what are the occupants? And he said one of them was reptilian. He said reptile, gray, robot, sentient machines, and then like humanoids, like tall whites, like things that look like us but they're not quite human, and then like sentient plasma. And that's essentially like the life forms that we're dealing with. So reptiles do seem to be in that. I don't want to deal with those things. And I feel like once once you become aware of this, it's then on you. You now become part of the defense team. If there is good guys here trying to get the bad guys off, once you are awakened to it and you kind of get a sense of what's going on, now it's on you. Now you're one of the gatekeepers, not of the truth, but of the sanctity of the planet and the human condition and the soul and the mind. So I try to make a conscious effort to like get them the hell away from me at the very least and my family.
Yeah.
And
Let me ask you this. So since 2015, when you last saw these things, you said that you're starting to see the craft again. Does
the
it
orbs.
seem like the same craft, or are they different craft this time?
Well, the craft last time, it was crazy. Like the black triangles and all that stuff. Like, oh my God. No, I don't see anything like that anymore. That seemed like that was very, that was like an objective, an agenda. Like I was on the menu, and I don't see craft like that anymore. No. And I don't
Like,
want to, honestly.
so
But
what
I
you're
do
seeing?
see orbs. I see orbs. I see the balls of light.
Yeah.
But I
So
don't.
that could possibly be the good craft now that are cleaning out. I honestly think that you're probably near that base, and that
That's news to me. I have no idea, but I'm right there with you because it wasn't until I got involved in all this UFO stuff, like in 2020, that I started learning how important Huntsville is.
yeah,
I mean,
Huntsville's huge. I don't think people understand how
they
big
don't.
Huntsville is. And you know what? Nobody talks about it because they don't want people down here looking.
Mhm. And
So
I mean, Lockheed, Boeing, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman,
Yeah.
all of them, BAE Systems, all of them. They're all here in a
Yeah.
major way. And I can't help but think if there are craft, pieces of craft and bodies, they have come through Huntsville. And
Oh, yeah.
if they've come through Huntsville, then then the aliens have probably come in behind them, going like, "What are y'all doing down there with all this
I think
stuff?"
that I think they've always been here. I mean, and the Cherokee talked about
Yeah.
beings that lived underground here as well, and this was hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Mhm.
Literally, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, southern Tennessee, where the Cherokee actually fought a war against these underground creatures, and I think they've been here. I think that I would bet to assume that Redstone Arsenal was put there because there's actually an entrance to that location somewhere near here, and they're. I think they make. I mean, it's a no brainer that the human beings, that the United States military is creating and making their own craft here. At least they have been. They did in the past, and they're probably working with the Greys or the reptilians right here in Huntsville, or at least they have in the past, until they got removed. From what I understand, the only beings that are left here now are the hybrids, the actual real ones that they've had to leave. They've been forced out.
Hmm.
Like they
I,
can't exist in this portion of space.
I mean, I don't know. I couldn't tell you that for sure. I have heard, like, I am aware because once all that stuff started happening to me, I got real dialed into the UFO subject. So I'm aware of the underground base thing, and that they're all major military installations have an underground level, and they're all connected by underground trains, and that they have found aliens down there. I've heard all of that. I couldn't speak to it because I haven't seen it with my eyes. But I mean, I'm sitting here telling you that I've communicated with an alien and I've seen one 6 feet in front of me, and I'm nobody special. And if that's happening to me, and you've got, Lockheed Martin and Boeing, who are apparently two of the main culprits in this, now 5 minutes from where I reside, I wouldn't doubt it. And there has been mention of co-ops, like cooperative relations between Greys and humans, and the Greys help them build stuff. And that sounds insane, but that seems to be what's going on.
Yeah, and I could tell you that that they're no longer talking to the United States. I know this for a fact. I know this from Lou Elizondo, who told an Air Force buddy of mine, and he told them that that's the reason why the United States is freaking out right now is because they've been working with these creatures for, since the 50s, and all of a sudden they stopped talking to us, and that they've been here all this time, and they get by hiding in society. They'll pick a region or a country, and then they'll live in that country and help out that country, and then they'll stop and they'll move on. So I think that that's one of the bigger problems that we're having is they think that the U.S. government thinks that these beings are no longer talking to the United States, and the United States is like, oh, they're not talking to us anymore. They must be talking to Russia. They must be talking to China, when in fact that's not the case. They've been driven off the planet entirely. But that's what they're getting ready to. They're freaking out and want a war with Russia and China now because they think that they're working with Russia and China now to make the same technology that they were making with us over here. So we need to go ahead and start World War III to stop Russia and China from having this technology that we already have. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When in
I get
fact
it.
they're not talking to Russia, they're not talking to China, they're just not even on the planet anymore. And it's just a deep state freaking out thinking that they are.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'll say this, that since I've come out and have been like really open about what happened to me, this happened about 13 years ago. All the meat of my experiences. Um, But I have spoken to people, or people have come to me to tell me their stories because people are afraid to be public for obvious reasons, because I sound like a crazy person. But and my reputation has been damaged, as well as my work and my family. It's not fun. But anyway, people have seen shadow beings and grays in the last 10 years in their houses. So I spoke with somebody recently who's somewhat connected, and he thinks that these things are so manipulative and conniving that they didn't, you can't trust anything that they say, and that whatever they're doing is like for their benefit. It's not for our benefit, and it may well be that we are some kind of resource for them. I'm not saying they eat us, but that they're using us for something, and they need us, so they don't want us gone, but they also want the planet for themselves. And they're a little worried that we're going to screw the planet up for them. And ultimately, they're working towards like planetary acquisition, if they've already acquired it. But they, for some reason, they need some kind of ambassador, human ambassador.
Yeah, I think
I don't know.
you need to listen to Tony Rodriguez and Elena Danan and listen to some of the stuff they have to say, because they talk about some pretty interesting stuff and where we are in this fight right now against these beings. Have you tried having any kind of hypnosis done to see if there's any memories that
Well,
you're not able, that your brain is blocking?
Yeah. As far as that goes, I pitched the question out to people on X years ago, and this one guy came back and he was like, "I'm a regressive hypnotist," and he said, "If you don't trust me, if you don't trust hypnotists to regress you, you can just do it to yourself." And I said, "Well, I've already done it to myself because I had learned techniques prior to kind of delve into your own mind through these guided things that I found on YouTube." And I said, "I've kind of already done that." And so I have, and what I saw, I've described it before, but essentially it was inside the ship or inside something. And it was just this long curved hallway, and you couldn't even see the end of it because it curved. And the walls were like bone white, and they looked almost like polished stone or something. Like it was just very smooth. It wasn't plastic, it wasn't stone. I don't know what it was, but it was very smooth, and it just kind of had that bone white color to it. And the lights were not in the ceiling. I couldn't tell where the lights were, but they looked like they were just emanating from somewhere, the walls, the floor, but there were no like lights in the ceiling. And I look ahead of me, and there was a woman, and she had thin black hair that came past her shoulders. And I looked down, and she had like a silver suit on with black military boots. And she was holding my hand and leading me down the hallway. And I looked down in my hand, and her hand was blue, and it didn't have 5 fingers, and the fingers were longer, and the tips of the fingers were a little bit more bulbous.
Does she have fingernails?
I can't remember. I didn't see fingernails
Yeah.
to my recollection. But the black military boots stuck out, and the silver suit, and she looked like a woman. Like she had a womanly figure, like her hips, she looked like a woman. But it was with blue skin. And she looked over her shoulder at me, and she had like the gray eyes, like the big black eyes, but her face, the rest of her face didn't look like a gray. She didn't have the nostrils. She had a nose and lips that were fleshy, but it wasn't a human. Like it wasn't fully human. And she had bangs, like the
Yeah.
the bangs. And she just kind of smiled, like a faint smile. And then I looked to my left, and there was a door, like a big arched door a path, like an opening. There wasn't a door there. It was just an opening. And in the opening, it was a dark room. And inside the room, I just kind of looked in, and there were 4 grays in there. And the room was like circular, and there was like a panel across the wall that went around the wall. It looked like a control panel, but it didn't have like any keys on it or anything. It had a big, those mouse balls that they used to have forever ago. It's like the big.
Yeah.
It looked like that, but bigger, and it just stuck off the control panel. And then there were screens that were like almost holographic looking. They didn't look to be attached to anything, but they were like orange. And then they had characters that ran up and down. Like instead of a cross, the characters went up and down the way like Japanese would. And there were symbols of some kind that didn't look like anything I'd ever seen. And there also looked like there were tables in there that had tools on them. And the grays were in there, and they were busy, and a couple of them looked up at me, and it was the same ones, like the greenish kind of skin. And one looked at me, and it wasn't phased. It just looked back down and kept working. And then I blacked out, and then I was on a table, and the table was going down a hallway, and I just had a sense that they were floating the table, like with their minds or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there were 4 little grays, and the table was like oval. And I was in my pajamas, like I was in pajama pants with my walking shoes that I wear outside and my raincoat that I wear in the rain. And there were 4 grays on each side of the table, and I just saw the tops of their heads. I hate that this keeps cutting me off. So it was like I only saw like this much of their head up and saw their big black eye. Passed out. Then I was in another room, and I was strapped into a chair, or I was stuck in a chair, and like my head was held back, restrained. My arms were restrained. My chest and my torso was restrained. And my legs, I couldn't get up. I didn't know if it was belts or what, but I couldn't get out of the chair. And there was a big gray that was shining something in my eye, had like a light, and I had a tube down my throat. And I could feel it like burning down the back of my throat. And then there was like an arm that swung out in front of the chair, and it was just a circular platform, and there was a little gray on it, and it was squatting like a monkey. Again, this is like a memory recall.
Yeah,
self-hypnosis,
it's a fascinating story.
But they're frustrated with me because I'm freaking out and I won't sit still. And then I black out again, and then I'm in a big circular white room. Again, I can't tell where the lights are coming from, but the whole room's illuminated with this soft white light. I'm in the middle of it on that same table. And again, it has that same kind of like polished stone look or feel. But it's not. I don't know what it is. And the woman's back in there, the blue woman. And she is like consoling me, and she's rubbing her fingers up my shin. And then she rubs her fingers up my sternum. And the whole time she's like shushing me like a baby. And then she runs her fingers up the middle of my forehead. And then she gets like right over my face and smiles. And then that's all I remember. So, that's all I've got as far as like regressive hypnosis goes. But again, like that whole story is self-hypnosis trying to recall whatever is going on. Because I know that they're coming in the house. I know that the craft are above the house. I know that the orbs are following me around, like to work. The orbs are coming to the window. My kids are seeing these things. There seems to be evidence of like implants or something. My kids are having nosebleeds. So something is going on. But every time somebody sees an alien, they just fall asleep, or they don't remember what happened next, or the alien disappears. So something is going on, but I don't know what. So I tried to communicate with them, and they just gave me something vague about the end of the world and beefing up our genetics. And they might have to take us with them away from Earth to someplace safe if shit hits the fan. And that's all I know. And so I tried to find out what was going on. And
do you take that ride?
Do I take that ride? I'll tell you what, my wife said, hell no. My wife said no. And I was like, why? She's like, I'm not getting on board with those things. She's like,
well, there's going to be a catastrophic event here on Earth. I mean, would she rather die than get on the ship?
Yeah, she's that stubborn. And if she
Well,
if she's
why
listening,
that's
if
why
she's
they're
listening to
ex-wives, right?
this, it's very sad. But yeah, so oh, so yeah, she would
Have you
not.
ever? Let me ask you this.
I might. Depends on how bad they are, how bad things are.
I would totally get on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, I'd go. I'm sure half my listeners would go. Uh, Goodness, I was just about to ask you something, and then I totally spaced it out.
It's the aliens.
Yeah,
They zapped,
it's
they
the
zapped
aliens.
it out of me.
Well, maybe they're hitting me with microwave
And
weapons.
I'll tell you this too, like these kind of conversations we're having, these really woo-woo conversations, don't think for a second that people on the UAP task force or people who work with them or people in these military positions aren't having these same conversations.
Oh, I'm
They're
sure
not having them publicly, but all of this kind of stuff we're discussing is discussed at the higher levels. Is it true? I don't think anybody knows. But again, not unlike with my scenario, something's going on. Like the big black-eyed aliens, the discs, the teardrops, the craft, the metal spheres, they're harassing Navy destroyers, they're harassing jets, they're coming to people's houses, they're coming into people's houses. Something's going on. You know exactly what it is. That's I think there's just a handful of people that might know. And outside of that, the aliens know. And apparently there's more than one alien. But I've even heard people from like the intelligence community say there's only one alien. But it's capable of messing with your head and making you think that there's reptiles and mantids and Nordics, but there's just the grays.
I think it's just the reptilians. I think the Greys are.
Yeah.
I think the Greys are created by the reptilians.
They're the worst. Well, that's one thing I feel like can be said pretty confidently is that the Greys are like employees, like they are doing the grunt work for something else. You know how they come to be, how they're made. I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, I've even thought that like that's what they're doing. Like when they're getting genetic material, they're making a workforce with genetic material from Earth. So, you know, I had somebody tell me recently, and again, he's pretty well connected, but he doesn't know for sure, but he's talking shop with people, and he thinks that there may be one presence that came here a long time ago and has used genetic material from the Earth to make all these different beings. And they're left here to kind of manage things, or I don't know what they're doing, but that's a theory that's been floated around, is that there's really just one presence and it has made all of these other things. I don't know where they're from. I wish I knew. I'm not above thinking that they are extraterrestrial, like they're coming from a different star system somewhere.
I think they originally did. Yeah, I think they did originally, but they've been here for thousands of years.
Yeah.
They might even they probably, you know, a lot of this has to do with the. See, now I listen to Billy Carson too, and I think he's spot on about the planet that's currently the asteroid belt that used to be between, like Mars used to be a moon of this planet. And this planet had some event happen, or we actually had another solar system collide with this solar system many, you know, long time ago. And that these beings came here from that planet, you know, back when we were still Neanderthals, so to speak, and they biologically engineered us and created us to be their slaves back long time ago. And that they've been on this, you know, they've been trapped on this planet. They've been on this planet, you know, for a long time. I mean, I guess we'll all find out. I truly believe we're all going to find out, you know, when we pass, you know, we'll find out the truth of all this. So are you ready for some questions?
Yeah.
All right. Let me give a quick shout out to everybody. There's a ton of people here. I do have your questions earlier highlighted to ask David. If you have some questions, now's the time to ask. Make sure you like the video and do comment on it. If you're listening to it later, leave a comment because it does help the channel grow. And we are trying to grow. The faster we can grow, the faster we can get David Stephen Greer on the show. He doesn't want to come on until we have more subscribers. So definitely share the podcast and everything, and then we can get Greer on. That'd be great. So, do you want to tell everybody where they could find you first off, or I usually give our, do you have a website or a book or anything?
No, and actually, I've made it a point to not have any product that I'm pushing at all. I'm just here to tell my truth as best I can. I am on X. My handle is at MUNOOK. I used to have a music project, and it was the handle I used. My band name was Manook, so it's still under Manook, but I've changed it to David John Lanier, but the handle is still at MUNOOK, and that is my webpage. That's where I go off on aliens.
So that's just on X.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's my outlet.
All right, so let's get into some of these questions. Mary wants to know, do you think this has all been about a hybridization program all along?
I think it's involved with genetics, and I think it's involved with lineages. As far as the hybridization program, I couldn't tell you for sure, but I think that, yeah, the hybridized human animal, animal alien, alien human idea, I'm like 80-20 on that being a reality. And it's been a reality for a while. It may well be that, we are a byproduct of their genetic experimentation. But I couldn't tell you for sure. But yeah, I think I've been doing a lot of research on exoplanets recently, and it may well be that, this planet is the jewel of the solar system, and exoplanets exist, but they're relatively rare, and they're here to use it, and we're part of their.
I think that there's a lot going on too in 4 and 5 6D that we don't have any idea just because we can't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Robert Bell wants to know, why did they pick you?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think that my mother had experiences like with paranormal type things. My grandmother apparently had some paranormal things happen to her. I've learned recently that my last name is Lanier. That's French. In France, that lineage had psychic people in it. My great grandfather on my mother's side was Cherokee. I live in North Alabama, where there's a lot of Cherokee heritage. I don't know. I mean, I don't know why. I think it's because they had been, well, they said to me that they had been watching over me for a long time, that I had encephalitis as a child, which is like a virus in your brain. And they said that I was supposed to die. I didn't. I don't remember it because I was 18 months old. But they said that's when they started watching over me, and that they kept me alive for whatever reason. And that at the time I was not a person of great influence, but I was a person of influence, and I'm an honest person, and I'm a believable person.
Yeah, so you should listen to Tony Rodriguez talk about the secret space program and what they do to people in that. That's pretty interesting stuff. What's your blood type, by the way? Do you know?
I have no idea.
You should probably look at that.
It's blue, but when it comes out, it's red.
Well, that's everybody.
I know. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's blue until it's
oxidized. Yeah.
Until it comes out. Puck Elf wants to know, did you experience any medical issues or physical change after standing under a UFO close?
There were a couple times the triangle left me feeling real dizzy. And there were a couple times where I was nauseated. One time in particular, I remember 2 orange orbs on the other side of a tree, or a group of trees. And I didn't remember being outside, how I got there, but I was sick at my stomach and I was extremely dizzy. and I was dry heaving and crying. And, you know, my hair's falling out. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Yeah,
I don't
we all
know.
get older, right?
I will say that I have been offered to be put in touch with Gary Nolan to have tests run if I wanted.
Oh, you should check it
And
out.
yeah, I mean, but it's hard to determine what's related and what's not related. But that's the difficult part, is like people have to start getting real honest about that kind of stuff to get to the answers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. So, does anybody have any questions? I see a lot of stuff coming through. I'm not getting many questions here lately. So, Adam Robbins, how you doing, Adam? It's been a while since I've seen you on the channel, man. Welcome back. He says, "Don't worry about people believing you or not. Once you see this stuff up close, it doesn't matter. I was changed forever when it was confirmed that life isn't what we think." So,
Yep.
I just
Amen
wanted to
to
highlight
that.
that for you. It's not a question, but I did want you to hear that.
Hmm.
And ABC said, "Does this guy have a book?" I think we answered that. No, you don't.
This guy does
And
not.
Mary Spirit said, "I think it has stopped. I think we will ascend to 5D." I mean, do you feel good about where humanity is going?
Nope. I think we are circling the drain. I think we're in trouble
Yeah, so do I.
in a major way, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be here to see the climax, but I don't like where it's going.
Yeah, I honestly think that the big disaster they're talking about, I think it's a pole flip. And
It might be self-inflicted. Shoot, I mean,
I don't. Yeah,
we
I
might
think
be
that
doing it to ourselves.
that's what they want us to think. I think it's a pole flip. Mike Rotonda says, "I heard they have been purposely manipulating mankind in order for us to be always at war with each other, to divide us, keep us in a low vibrational state." Do you feel as if these experiences have been keeping you in a low vibration?
Yeah, actually, because like that was one point I always made, is that I was in a low vibrational state by the time it was ending, but that was because of the presence. It wasn't, I wasn't low vibe and it attracted. I was just a normal human, and then it started happening and it just pushed me down. Like it made me, it put me in a low vibe place that I had to get back out of. But I do think that they are manipulating people. I think that at the very least, some of the grays are manipulating people,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Mary says we have to try to not be in fear and keep trying to raise our vibration and frequency.
Yes.
That's exactly that. I think they're just trying to scare everybody and keep everybody scared on this planet because it lowers our vibration and lowers our frequency.
Fear is a powerful tool.
It is. It really is. Adam Robbins, he wants me to ask you about your psychic ability. Do you feel like you have a psychic ability? Do you have
Uh,
premonitions, things like that?
I think I do. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how into it I want to get, but I do feel like I can kind of sense what people are thinking and feeling. So I'm very empathic. I'm very intuitive. I also, oh God, I'm going to sound like a crazy person. I feel like I can
Go
interact
ahead,
and
man. Don't worry
inter,
about being judged by anybody here, man. You just got to come right out and say it. Nobody here thinks you're crazy, man.
interact with and interfere with like electronics.
Who you can?
Yeah. And also I can, like, from a long distance, connect with people like astrally really
Uh-huh.
easily. Um and I feel like I can heal quick too, like heal faster than the average person my age. But that's not psychic, that's like health wise. But yeah, I do feel like I've had some precognitive dreams before. Like I would dream about something and then it would happen, or it would be accurate. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
but I think all people are.
Yeah,
I don't
no,
think I don't think
I
I'm
agree.
special. I think all
I
people
think some people are tuned in to it better than others.
are. Mhm.
Life 101 wants to know: do you think these aliens are benevolent or malevolent?
Uh,
Good or bad?
okay. As far as the Greys go, I say neither, and they are indifferent. They don't care.
Yeah,
So
they're just programmed.
if you have a religious experience, they don't care. If you're terrified, they don't care. They're there for their purpose, and they'll tell you whatever they need to tell you and do whatever they need to do to make that happen. So they're manipulative, in my opinion.
All right. Robert Bell says, "Why did they pick you?" And you asked that question earlier. We already answered it. Mike Rotunda says,
Ah,
"What did they smell like?"
I don't recall a smell. I know that a lot of people say they have that sulfur smell, and I know a girl who was close to some Greys, and she said they had a smell. I couldn't remember what she said, but the one I saw was on the other side of a door. I mean, the wind, I could see it through the window. I was 6 feet from the window,
Uh-huh.
but I wasn't close enough to sniff it. Um, and then when I was really close to the craft and the orbs, I didn't get. Now there was an electrostatic charge. Like I remember all the hairs on my arms standing up, and it would lean towards the craft or the being or the orb, but I never smelled anything.
Okay. Casper, aka Droid, says aliens are literally agents, aka code keepers. They can reset the day and fix glitches.
Yeah,
It's
I
not really a
agree.
question, but I just threw that up there. Have you ever noticed any reality glitches or felt like you relived the day?
Oh yeah, like the teardrop shaped UFO that was over my house. I saw it. It flew over me, and I leaned back in my car so I didn't want to see it. I was afraid it was gonna like zap me or something. And I looked back to see where it had gone, and it was right back where it was. And the whole thing happened again, like deja vu, like in the Matrix. And I heard the same thing happen at the aerial school event. Like the alien would run across the grass and then suddenly be back where it was. And somebody told me that has something to do with like the gravity drive that they're using. It messes with time. I have no idea, but
Yeah.
I think that, and two, I also think that they can actually manipulate people and events in the future to accomplish things. Mm,
Yeah. Huh. Well, I don't think time is an issue for them. I think they can come in and out of
yeah,
whatever time they want to.
it's my
Mike
understanding.
Rotunda says, "Don't worry. Uh, so here, buddy. We are not laughing. We are not judging. I just want to throw that out there at you. And Sweetly Morbid Bear says, kinetic energy is a sure sign of a healer.
Mm,
You know,
yeah. Hmm.
maybe you should look into, some kind of ability that you could have that, they feel like is going to be needed in the future. So they're preparing your bloodline and future bloodline to prepare for this catastrophic Earth event.
Yeah, I've even thought that, like, because a lot of people get those catastrophic ideas and images in their mind,
Uh-huh.
and they could just be projecting their own, like what happened to them. Like they're saying, like, this is what happened to us, and we're trying to prevent that from happening to you or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be too. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that I don't think they're good at all. I really don't. At least not the Grays.
Mhm.
So, all right, man. That's the
Yeah,
show. Why don't you tell
yeah.
everybody where they can find you, and we'll wrap it up.
On X at MUNOOK. Munuk, MUNOOK. My full name is David John Lanier. You can also look that up as well on Twitter. It'll probably pull me up. I think my profile picture, I have angel wings and I'm standing in a fighting stance. Super cheesy, but that's me.
Yeah. Okay. And I did tag you in the show description earlier. So
I saw it.
if you
I'll be
guys are
sure to
following,
share it.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you guys are following me on X, be sure you can go over there and just click on his I tagged him in the show, before we went live. And if you're not following me on X, get over there and follow me. Could always get a heads up on when our live shows are and who the guest is ahead of time. So that's going to do it for us, guys. David, hang around a minute. I'll talk to you for a second off the air. And that's going to do it for us, guys. You know, I really do think Huntsville, Alabama is going to be one of the keys to all this. This all goes back to Operation Paperclip. I'm telling you, there's a lot going on, and it all comes back to Operation Paperclip here in Huntsville, Alabama. So that's going to do it for us. Mary Spears says she's banned from X. Just start up another account. Don't worry about stuff like that. Just start another one with a different email, and go back to following the stuff that you wanted to follow. Blue Chicken says, I hope I have you on their conflict. I don't have any idea. Mike Rotonda says, I also heard that they pick certain people who they know can handle seeing them, because it's all fun and games until you actually see a non-human being. Some people can't take seeing them. And I get it. Maybe it's just because you could see them. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us. Make sure you get ready for these crazy times that are coming. Stock up on, get yourself a 50-pound bag of rice, throw it in the closet, and grab yourself another 50-pound bag, throw it in your closet for your neighbors, because at least somebody in your neighborhood has somewhat of an idea of what's coming, and it's not good. It might be bad later. It's probably all going to be, it might be good later. It's probably, for the better of us, for the better of humanity that this happens. But it's happening. Really bad stuff is going to happen. So, you know what to do.
It's happening now. We're in it.
Yep. Batten down the hatches and be safe, guys. Until we will be back Thursday, 7:30 Eastern with Scott Mitchell. Until then, everybody, be safe.